This is the study of geography, and these are the branches of geography: physical geography, human geography, and practical geography. These are among the few topics that we look at when we study geography. We look at industrialization, we look at forestry, we look at tea plantations, maize plantations, brick making industry, among many others. Welcome to Geography Form 1 lesson.
Geography Form 1, and we are talking about, we have a new topic today. We are talking about the weather. And we start by defining the term weather. And what is weather? We say it is the condition of the atmosphere of a given place at a particular time, usually a very short time. So we can talk about weather in terms of minutes. Yes, we can talk about weather in terms of hours, or in terms of days, or even weeks. Yes, the weather of last week. Yes, we can talk about the weather in the morning. It was cold. Now the weather is hot and it is sunny, you see, or it is raining. You see, in about 30 minutes ago, the weather has been very good. You see, that is how we talk about weather. So the weather changes within a very short time, unlike what we call the climate, which we must have an average of the weather conditions for a very long time. Then we can make a conclusion of what the climate of a place is. Weather is changing, rapidly changing. Within a few minutes, we have transited from being sunny to being cold, to being cloudy, to being rainy, you see. And so the weather last night, the weather yesterday, the weather last week, last month. So it can run from a few minutes up to some 2 months, like this, a short time. And therefore, weather is actually the condition of the behavior of the atmosphere of a particular place of a very short period of time. Let us not talk about the seconds. No, we cannot say that in the last 5 seconds the weather was hot. No, it cannot be like that. It's a few minutes ranging to a few days and a few months, like that. And so now we talk about, when we are talking about the weather, the character of the atmosphere, elements, weather elements, and therefore it's good enough for us to name the weather elements. We have sunshine, we have temperature, we have humidity, we have winds, we have cloud, we have air pressure. Those are the weather elements that we have. And these weather elements, they are measured by specific instruments. Like, for example, if it is sunshine, as we said, that sunshine is a weather element. Sunshine is measured by a weather instrument that is called sunshine recorder. It records the amount of sunshine and the duration over which we received sunshine. So sunshine recorder is an instrument that measures sunshine. Then we talk about temperature. It is measured by a thermometer. Yes, very good. And then we talk about humidity, which is also measured by a hygrometer. Then we talk about clouds. They are measured by our eyes. We just look at the sky and we say it is cloudy, or there are no clouds today. It is the skies are clear. So it's observation, as your naked eyes can be able to measure for us, though we have airborne instruments that capture that. Then we have air pressure, which is also measured by a barometer. Air pressure is measured by a barometer. We talk about the rate of evaporation. Evaporation is the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. So the rate of evaporation at which the water is being added into the atmosphere is measured by an instrument that we call evaporimeter. Then we talk about precipitation and mainly rainfall. Rainfall is measured by an instrument that is referred to as a rain gauge. Now then, where do we find these instruments? Do we walk on the road and we find them there? You know, if you want students, you find them in a school. If you want believers, you find them, or worshippers, you find them in the church. That's where they are congregated. If you need, you want to see patients and you want to do some research on them, you find them in the hospital. So where do we find these weather elements? Weather instruments. The weather instruments are measured, recorded, and analyzed in a weather station. Then this weather element, this weather station hosts all the weather instruments. That is the sunshine recorder, thermometers, hygrometer, evaporimeter, rain gauge, wind fan, wind shock, those that are used to measure the weather elements. Now, then where are we going to find, where do you locate a weather station? Citing a weather station, it has to find some qualifications. Not any place can be used for measuring measuring this instrument and housing them, and therefore we are looking at the qualities of a site for it to be chosen as a site for measuring weather. So this siting a weather station includes the place must be away from obstruction of trees or vegetation, and buildings should be in a clearly open place, so that if we are measuring wind, it will not be obstructed by the buildings. You see, we are measuring the speed of wind, so we don't need it to be obstructed. We need to measure the amount of sunshine. We don't want the shade of the trees. We want to measure the amount of rainfall that has reached the ground, and we do not want the plants to obstruct the raindrops, making them to become stem flow, and we will not be able to measure them there at the foot of the tree. So we are going to measure, it is going to be put in a clear place where we call an open place. That's number one. Number two, the site has to be in a gentle sloping ground, not flat. If it has to be flat, then it will encourage flooding. We don't want that. We want to put it in a gentle sloping ground where we will have rain if it is raining, and we are going to have the water sinking into the ground, infiltrating, so we don't encourage flooding. That is another qualification of a weather station. Another one is that it has again to be very open, in an open area, to give a clear view. The other one I talked about obstruction of the weather elements. Openness in terms of obstruction of the weather elements. That's the point number one. But this point in open view is that if you want to look at the sky and you talk about the amount of clouds, or if you want to see whether it is raining in the area around, you have to be, it has to be open in a way, not at the foot of the mountain. You see, no, it has to be somewhere where it is a little open for us to have a clear view. Then again, another factor that you consider is accessibility. You know, we cannot talk about a weather station being located in a place where we are going to look for gumboots, we are going to look for, you know, inaccessible regions where we are going to look for boats to move to that place. It has to be in an area that is accessible, you see, near, very near the area where the learners are. So accessibility in terms of distance and in terms of being able to walk to that place. You don't need to hire a matatu to reach that place. And then we also talk about another qualification is the security. That place has to be secure. It has to be fenced, and it has to be under lock and key. The gate has to be locked so that you are able to stop children from playing around with the weather instruments. We have the children and we have bad people, thieves. You know, a thief can just go and pick a rain gauge and go and sell like a scrape. Honestly, that is very bad because weather, observing and recording of weather and measurements are very important. So we don't want them to be messed up with people who do not know the importance that we attach to these instruments. So those are the factors that are considered when you are sighting a weather station. That is very good. Now we have in the weather station, we have talked about the weather instruments, and now we have some instruments which are not put in the open, because if you went to a weather station, you will just see a wind vane, you know, you will just see a wind shock. You see, you just find them in the open. After the fence and the fence is there and there's a gate, you find them there. If a perimeter is just put in the open. But there are instruments which are housed because they need a lot of care. And these instruments, they include the hygrometer, which measures humidity, and that is the wet and bulb and dry bulb. Then the wet and dry bulb, that is the hygrometer, which is used in measuring humidity. Then we talk about the thermometers. The thermometers are useful because they help us to measure temperature. Now, temperature has got three types of thermometers. We have the maximum thermometer, which is used to measure the maximum temperature of the day, which is usually recorded during the day. Then we have minimum thermometer, which is used to measure the lowest temperatures of the day, and that is done, it records that at night. Then we have the 6 thermometer, which is combined, maximum and minimum. It's usually U-shaped. On one part, it measures the maximum, and on the other part, it measures the minimum. And so these three thermometers plus the hygrometer, they are placed in a small cage, in a very small structure that we call the Stevenson screen. So a Stevenson screen houses those instruments which are delicate, and they need a shade for them to carry out their measuring and recording very well, to avoid direct radiation from the ground. So we have the Stevenson screen, as we have said. And how do you get into a weather station and you tell people this is a Stevenson screen? The Stevenson screen has got some characteristics that are very clear. We have, it is painted white. The rain gauge is not necessary that it should be painted white. No, the Stevenson screen is a structure that is painted white. So when you get and you walk into a weather station and you find a structure that is painted white, that is a beautiful, our Stevenson screen. Now, why is it painted white? Because the white color will help to reflect away much of the heat, so that we do not have overheating of the box, because it's a box. And so it is done like that to avoid overheating, excess absorption of sun rays. So much of that is reflected away. The sun rays are reflected away. Much radiation is reflected away. Then we have the structure is raised from the ground. It is raised from the ground. It's a box that is raised from the ground. It is mounted on metallic posts, which are 4 metallic posts. And why is it raised from the ground? It is there also to discourage direct radiation from the ground, so that we give the correct atmospheric condition. We are not talking about the ground temperature. We are talking about the temperature in the atmosphere. And that one the raising helps us to avoid direct radiation from the ground. And then why is it, so it is raised from the ground to avoid direct radiation. It is painted to reflect away excess radiation from the sun. And it is mounted on metallic posts to avoid decomposing of the posts. If they were wooden, it could decompose, they could decay, they could be eaten by termites. So to avoid that, we use metallic posts, and that is a good reason. Then we have the structure is made up of wood. The box itself, that is where we keep the thermometers and the hygrometer, it is wooden. It is made up of wood, because if we use the metal, then it could overheat. You know, it is wood is a bad conductor of heat, so it does not really let the heat and then absorb the heat and make it get into the box. It could cause overheating and give a wrong impression of the temperature that is in the atmosphere. So it is wooden, and now it has got double roof. The roof is double. That is again to reduce radiation, you know, direct radiation from the sun as much as possible, to bring the real picture of the air. Then we also talk about it has got louvers. You see, ventilations. Those louvers, those are the spaces which allow aeration, circulation, free circulation of air, because we are measuring the air of the atmosphere, and usually the atmosphere allows free circulation of air, and that is the reason why it is like that. We have said the weather elements, we have been able to name them: sunshine, temperature, rainfall, air pressure, wind, cloud cover, and we have talked about their various instruments. Rainfall is measured by a rain gauge. Thermometer is measures temperature. Sunshine is measured by sunshine recorder. Cloud cover is observed. A barometer measures the air pressure. You see, those are some of the instruments, and we have said some of these, all these instruments are placed in a particular place, which we call a weather station. We have looked at the factors that we consider. It has to be gentle sloping. It has to be in an open place where there is no obstruction from trees and buildings. It has also to be very clear, to give a clear view of the environment, and it has to be secured and accessible. Then we have talked about some of the instruments are delicate and fragile, and they only are able to record the elements in a cool environment, and that is the thermometers and the hygrometer, and they are housed in a Stevenson screen. We have said the qualities or characteristics of a Stevenson screen: it has to be white in color, it has to be raised from the ground, it has to be it is mounted on metallic posts, and it is wooden. It's a wooden box. It is also lockable. The box is lockable to avoid stealing and damages by children, and it is well ventilated, and those are the qualities of a Stevenson screen. Thank you. That is what we have been able to learn today, and we are welcoming you for the next lesson.
We're very grateful that you found time to watch our content. Kindly press the subscribe button down there and leave a like if the content was helpful to you. Join us in the next lessons. Thank you.